I had a conversation today with somebody about Shelly, where like many people, they think that Shelly is waiting for the right moment to strike.
Mm,
That's not happening.
mm.
sh- the, the reality is that Shelly-Ann Fraser Pryce is no longer. We used this term before in the previous show. She's no
Yeah,
longer godlike. She's a mere mortal now, and you saw that today. She was Shelly. For those who don't understand, Shelly's a front end sprinter.
right.
That she dominates the race from 0 to 70, and then she holds on for the last 30 meters. We've seen that over the years where um, that Daphne Skipper's closed on her, Camila Jetta closed on her,
Right.
other athletes, but she was too far ahead to be caught. No, she's not getting that lead anymore because her start is, I mean, her start was ordinary today. In fact,
Yeah.
Melissa Jefferson and Shakari got out ahead of her. And we've seen that all season. She doesn't get out as quickly as before. Her acceleration is not what it used to be. So she's not ahead of the field at 60, 65, 70. So today she was at 60, she was in second place at 65 and 70, at 60, 70, and then she was passed. She
Yeah.
moved second. She moved from second to fourth in the last 20, 25 meters of that race. So this has become the norm for her this year, which suggests to me that not much will change in 3 weeks, even if she runs faster, like say 10 nines, because 11 17 today is not where she'd want to be
Right.
3 weeks out. Huh? So if she runs 10 9 in 3 weeks, chances are she'll be third or fourth in a semifinal and not guaranteed to make a final, depending on how the draw works out. So I'm as much as I'm unwilling to accept that reality myself. Um, the reality is that Shelly, if she makes the final in Tokyo, it would be an accomplishment given how she's raced all season. Because I think
Yeah.
she's only broken 11 seconds once this year,
That one. Yeah.
at the national championships. So there's nothing there to suggest that she's going to get the better of Kayla White, Tina Clayton,
Right.
Sharika Jackson, if Sharika Jackson is running 100, and of course the big two. So it's for me. If she makes a final, it will be a nice way to pass the baton on to whoever is going to assume the mantle next. But does she have a shot at a medal? Right now, certainly doesn't look that way.
Yeah, I want to say a few things on this too, and thanks everybody for joining us on the channel. We get to some of those comments in a second. You know, it's hard. You'd be hard pressed for me to say anything bad about Shelly-Ann Fraser Pryce. You know, I always start by saying the greatest 100-meter champion ever. But there's always one thing that I think the great athletes sometimes need to time right. And I'm trying to be careful of how I say this because I just never like to see when the all-time greats are on top and then you feel like they stick around just a little bit too long, and the other people who look up to you, who you're an inspiration to, they find themselves beating you, and it never really sits right with me. But I guess you don't decide when an athlete
Mhm.
decides to stop. She clearly still loves the sport, and I mean, it looks like the last year. I would love for her to make the final. I wouldn't put my money on it. That's the difficult thing, and it's hard to say that because if it's one athlete that usually goes to a championship and find a way, she does. She always finds a way, and so
Mhm.
maybe she might find a way to get into that final. It would be a fitting place to bow out, but I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, the field. Look, the field is deep this year, and Shelley has come back to the field.
yeah,
It's not like in previous years where, I mean, even last year you saw her run a cup. She ran 10-8 last
yeah,
year, and I believe that had she not had those cramping issues in the semifinals in Paris last year,
yeah,
she probably would have made the final.
yeah,
You know, so but for this year, I haven't seen a Shelly-Ann Fraser Price that looks like she's likely to beat anybody who is among the elite of the elite. Huh?
yeah,
She was third at national championship. She ran at 11:04, I think it was. I'm trying to remember. It was early in the season when she
yeah,
opened at the stadium in Kingston. She had another meet over 11 seconds again. She came to trials, didn't look particularly convincing in the heats, but then made the top three. And even though I picked her to be in the top three,
Right.
the reality is that had Tia Clayton not picked up an injury, the chances are she probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
So, and of course today, just further validates the feeling that you know time has finally caught up with the pocket rocket.
Right.
The fuel tank is empty. I mean,
Yeah.
the fuel tank is closer to empty than full. Um, I think it will be fitting she bows out with a medal, perhaps, but it's going to be likely from a relay
Yeah.
because I don't see it being an individual medal in Tokyo. So
No, I
given
don't
what
either.
we
And I
see,
think, yeah. And
yeah,
you made the solid point about how her entire career is always going out in front of everybody. And sometimes people underestimate that kind of pressure that it puts onto the other athletes. You know, if she's
hmm
gone now, your race plan usually goes awry if you're trying to run her down. And so it's one of those things. But yeah, if she can get a medal on the relay, which I think Jamaica should, we've talked about that. If they can
yeah,
execute well, they should be in the mix. The United States there, Great Britain, I think, will come really good. I think they should be there. You never know. You know, the Dutch could even sneak something if they get it right. But I
yeah.
imagine Jamaica, yeah,
I think with the weaponry that Jamaica has at its
yeah,
disposal, while not as potent as it was in the past, when I think they should have broken the world record like in 2021. Um, I think that the Clayton twins clearly will at 1082 and 1081
right,
they bring a lot of value. And even though Sherika Jackson might not be back at her best, I think with those four, I
yeah,
do believe that if they get the stick around, they should be looking at a silver medal at least. I
they
mean,
should, yeah,
so
they should,
it is likely that she will come away from the world championships with another medal. But
yeah,
in terms of the individual event, individual hundreds, I don't think I think that ship has sailed, unfortunately.
right.
So
And we must say, this does nothing to the career. She's,
no,
there's nothing to prove. It's not a indictment on her in any way. It's just, in
still the
fact,
greatest.
in fact, it's ridiculous that she can do this. That
Yeah,
shows
no,
how she's just not normal to be there.
this
Let me
is
get to this.
18
Yeah,
years. This is
yeah. It's
18 years.
yeah.
You know,
2007. She runs in Daegu on that relay, right? And
yeah.
everything from there on, and never missed a major championships. It's utterly a stellar career.